Hey guys, what's up? This is Shot Science Overtime. Excuse me, number 92. What we're going to do today is we're going to have our topic that we talk about on the top of the show. Then we're going to get into Q&A. And while we're doing our topic at the top of the show, you guys should be sending us your questions, letting us know what you want us to talk about afterwards so that we can answer any of your basketball questions that you may have. It can be about shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, how to train, whatever. Just let us know, and we'll try to get back to you later in the show. And if you can send those to us earlier, that's the best way to get your question answered. If you wait until the end, that doesn't always work out so well. So make sure you send us your questions early. Oh, and I forgot to say, I'm Casey. This is Coach Tom. We are Shot Science Basketball. Okay, so the topic that we have for the top of the show is, well, actually, I should say, if you want to send us your questions, send them to us at Shot Science on Twitter. That's the best place. You can also send them to us on Facebook, Google+, here in the Google+ app, the Q&A app on our feed, or on the YouTube page where this video is, and we'll try to get to everybody. Okay, so the topic for today is things that coaches are looking for, or what coaches want you to do in practice and tryouts. They are kind of similar between the two things, but basically coaches are looking for some specific things. I mean, maybe you can throw a few out and then I'll throw a few in if you want.
You know, every coach that coaches any sport has a certain list of things that they want to see from players or potential players if you're still trying out. One of the things that every coach wants to see is a high level of involvement. In other words, you are committed to participating on this team and hopefully doing a lot for it. So commitment is an important part of being on basketball teams or baseball teams or any team for that matter. And coaches are very aware of that. One of the things that they will do is if they find that that commitment is not there, then you are going to probably get pushed down way down the ladder, and you'll be replaced by people who have more of that commitment. So commitment is really important. Now, what does that commitment really mean? Well, it means that you are in the present. Oftentimes when coaches go to practice, or players go to practice as well, they're mentally not there. They've got other things on their mind, or they're intent on just kind of being screw-ups, and they take and touch other players, and they shove other players, and they just do little things that kind of breaks the concentration of not only the group but of the coach. And for me personally, that's one of the things that probably drives me up the wall more than anything else, is just kind of screwing around. A coach is speaking, he's talking about what he wants to see done and how he'd like to see it done, and there's somebody in the crowd who is just being a disturbance, not a big disturbance, but they're pulling another player's shirt, or they're hitting him behind the ear, or they're doing something to take his focus away from what the coach is getting at.
One of the classic ones that you see, and this happens at basketball camps all the time, is when guys they're told to hold the balls, and they keep dropping them or dribbling them or spinning them around their waist or whatever. And usually when you go to basketball camps, the coaches or the counselors, they'll have like a specific way to hold the balls, and it's usually underneath your elbow, up against your hip. And the guys that can't handle that, those are not the guys that they want to have on their team. If you can't simply stand still and listen for 2 minutes, then they don't want to have anything to do with you. So you have to kind of get it together.
Yeah. So commitment is really important in any game, but certainly in basketball. The other thing that's really important too is that from the players is that they are concentrating on what the coach is saying so that they understand. One of the things that is kind of interesting for me is that some players you can tell that they're kind of out in space someplace and they're not really listening. And then we'll get into a particular activity and they screw it up. Well, we just talked about this a few minutes ago. Weren't you listening? And so coaches lose patience with that very quickly. All right, another part of this commitment thing is that some players, they want to take issue with something that the coach is saying. In other words, another coach has told them, well, they should do this instead of that. That really kind of gets me going, because you're not playing for the other person right now. You're playing for me, and this is what I expect you to do. And it's not a debatable issue. Had this situation happen, I think it was last year. and they happened to be a couple of guys who wanted to debate things that we were doing. And no, that's not what you do. You can maybe quietly talk with the coach afterwards and he can explain to you what he really means, but your commitment is to what the coach wants you to do. And you don't debate those issues with him, because you'll find that you're further down the list when it comes to that. And so that's an important part of the game as well. And the other thing that's really important as far as players are concerned is that you help other players, and you don't distract them, but you help them. And if somebody's having problems, in fact, we were really big on this, and that players help players, players coach players. And we would even stop practice for a minute or so while one of the players took another player, typically a younger one, and spent time with them trying to explain how this should be done. And we found that that was really pretty effective. And hold practice. Are you guys ready to go now? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and coaches want to see people that kind of set examples and show dedication and leadership skills. And so, they don't necessarily want to see the guys that are cruising in 5 minutes after they ask them to be there,
Yep.
don't have their shoes on or whatever. They want to see the guys that show up and are at the gym, 10, 15, 30 minutes before they are, working on their game, working on their shooting, working
Yep.
on, their conditioning or whatever, that are already ready to go, warmed up. They don't want to have to sit there and wait for people. One of the worst things you can do is be late for practice, because you have to expect that there's going to be the coach, the assistant coach, maybe there's another assistant coach, and maybe 11 guys that are waiting on you. And for you to be late, it's pretty selfish. And you should just expect to be there early. And if you get there early and you're shooting around and you're setting the example of what dedication is, and you're working on your game and you're showing everybody else that you want to be there and you want to be the one that's on the court, that's going to resonate with the coach. And it probably will resonate with the other players too. And maybe they'll show up to do the same thing. And you guys will actually be better as a team because of all this effort that you're putting into it. There's a big difference between the guy that shows up 30 minutes before practice and is working on his game and the guy that cruises in right as practice starts without having their gear ready to go and everything too.
Or they've forgotten their shoes, or they've forgotten their workout uniform. The excuses are kind of endless, but coaches don't have patience for that. And one of the things that some coaches will do is that if something like that happens, everybody else runs while this person stands there and watches them run. And that kind of gets it across to you, and your teammates will then get it across to you that you're expected to be there with your equipment and ready to go and not coming in late. So that's all really important stuff too, because it sets a pattern for the way you're going to be when you are an adult. What do you think is going to happen if you show up late to your job? You think they're going to be waiting for you? They'll be waiting for you probably to move you on. And so the lessons that you learn participating on teams and going to school, stuff like that, about being on time, having that commitment to the team and to your teammates and the coach and the school and all of that's real important stuff. And you find that when you don't have that kind of grounding and you move off into the world, sometimes it's really kind of tough for you to hold jobs, find jobs, because you have this kind of a record that is around your neck, and people they know about all that kind of stuff, what kind of person you are. And so it's important that when you come, that you are a good person, that you participate wholeheartedly, and that you have a commitment to the team and the coach and the school and all that, or you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and the thing is that coaches want to have players on their team that are going to make the job easier on them, not harder.
Yeah.
If they can find guys that essentially act as little coaches or pseudo coaches, that's kind of what they're looking for. So if you have leadership skills, you help in kind of organization of getting drills together and setting things up and getting people in the places they need to be. Like you're setting the example by being there 30 minutes early or whatever, working on your games, showing the rest of the team what it takes. putting the effort in, all those things show the coach that you are the guy that he wants to model everybody else after, and it just makes his job easier. If he's having to micromanage all these people and tell them, you need to go here, you need to go there, you need to make sure that you're doing this, and I mean, that can get overwhelming. And the coach is already dealing with a whole bunch of stuff, kind of the big picture stuff. And if he has people that are helping him just in the micromanagement areas, that is a major benefit. If you're a problem and you're the guy that's going around that's kind of just fooling around, or girl that's fooling around and just making things difficult for other players, and maybe you think you're super funny, but for a coach, that isn't so funny, and you will find that the results and consequences of that aren't so funny. So hold off on that stuff when you're in a different setting and not trying to get down to business on the basketball court.
Well, that commitment kind of reaches out to another level as well, and that is that when you are competing on a team, that you control your emotions. Oftentimes, players get involved in yelling at other players, possibly yelling at the coach. I certainly wouldn't advise that. Or yelling at officials, questioning officials' calls, and that sort of thing. And coaches don't want those kind of people either. And
we would call that attitude.
Yeah, it's just an attitude of what kind of person you are and how you comport yourself as a part of a team. And so a great attitude is worth its weight in gold, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, if the guy's a pouter, or he goes off the hinges on little things, or is entitled to everything, good luck with that one, because nobody cares about what you want or what should be the way that you think it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to remember, it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Everybody fits in somewhere, unless you have a bad attitude. Then you can fit yourself right out of the gym.
Yeah. I remember one player that we had a few years back, that things went wrong with him at practice a couple times. And the first thing he would do is jerk off his jersey and throw it on the floor. I wasn't the head coach, so I couldn't really address that. But I would have in a moment if he'd have done it in front of me. That is a total disrespect, not only for your team, your school, but certainly your coach, when you jerk your shirt off like that in practice and throw it on the floor because you're pissed. Well, this one particular guy did that one day, and one of the players said to the coach, "Are you going to let him get away with that?" And the coach was kind of put on the spot. And so he went out and took care of it, and the guy was gone. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened, because that guy was a cancer. He was going to be a cancer for the whole season. He was going to make that season miserable for everybody, himself included. And so those kind of guys don't fit in. And so you don't want to be characterized as a jerk like that, who is has these little pouting fits and throws your jersey and stuff like that.
Yeah. So going back to the topic that we picked here, let's just wrap it up. Okay. So coaches want to see people in practice that, or in tryouts, that kind of set examples. They want to see people that show up to the gym early and are not late. They are working on their game outside of those times, the practice and the tryouts, and they can see that happening. They want to have people that help in terms of leadership and effort, and setting examples there, and also that have just that kind of are putting in the extra little things that everybody else isn't doing. Right. And one of the major things is that they actually know how to listen, and they show the coach that they care about what the coach is saying. Yeah. Worst thing you can do is not pay attention. Yeah. And whenever I swear, if I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, if you go to a basketball camp, if you go to tryouts, or if you go to whatever, and there's always going to be that one guy, at least, maybe there's more, but there's always that one guy that just cannot hold it together for 2 minutes to listen to the coach. And that guy just gets laid into. Don't be that guy. It's so easy to not be that guy. Yeah. I know everybody's, got the cell phone mentality or whatever, where they can't, be undistracted for more than, 30 seconds. But seriously, if you want the coach to be endeared to you, pay attention to what they're saying. Yeah. And sometimes it'll actually help you. So that's really important for you to do. Yeah. All right. And I know these are not things that are in terms of skills and performance and stuff like that. That's because most of that stuff is things you should be taking care of already. These are not things that you just switch on when you go to practice or tryouts. Skills and things that you have to develop take time. And so hopefully these are things that will help you kind of just in the short run that you can just work on when you go there immediately. And also, when it comes to practice and tryouts and the skills that are involved, you need to make sure that you are not trying to play above your abilities, and you need to try to make sure that you are not doing things that are to benefit yourself or to show off, and are not in the long run effort of putting the ball in the basket and making your team better.
Yeah.
Coaches don't want to see the N1 mixtape out there. That stuff is awesome and cool, but that's entertainment basketball. That is not competitive basketball, where what counts is not style points but actual bucket points. So just make sure that when you're out there that you are not trying to put on a show. Coaches don't care that you can do that stuff. What they care about is, can you get to the basket and score? That's what they care about, not the I can do the in and out 5 times and crossover and they don't care about that stuff. That's too showing off, too one person thing. It needs to be an effective attack at the basket. So that's all we'll say about skill stuff, really.
Right.
Everything else, we really hope that stuff helps you. If you guys have more questions about that, just let us know. But seriously, those are things that coaches look for. Be that guy, not that guy.
Yeah.
All right?
Or girl.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to jump into our question and answers portion of the show. Hopefully you guys have been sending us your questions. If you want your question answered on the show, and we'll give you a shout out, just send them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science there, or you can put them in the chat on YouTube for this video, or in the Q&A app, or maybe even Facebook and just the Google Plus page. We're trying to hit everywhere. So if you guys want to catch us, we'll try to find you. We'll try to get to everybody. So send your questions in early. And if you could, go out and tell your friends and family to watch, because the more people that you have help us join Team Shot Science and watch these, the more cool things we'll be able to do for you guys. Okay. All right. So let's jump into some of these questions. Let's see. This one is from Quickscope Kez, who says, how do you develop a quick first step to go by your defender?
Well, one of the things important is in footwork and explosion is really working on drills that are going to improve that the power and explosion in the muscles of your legs. One of the things that we like to recommend to everybody is our vertical jump handbook. And the reason is that is all centered around explosion from the legs to help you develop a better jump. And so we think that really helps you a lot to be able to use that. So if you go to our vertical jump videos, you will find the access to the video, the vertical jump handbook, which is a 3-month daily program that helps you increase your vertical elevation.
Yeah. And working on things like the jab step and taking a long first step instead of a short one.
Yeah.
That really helps you.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is from Nathan Thompson, who was at NateT_AF, who's here all the time. He says, how do I get out of a dry spell? I've lost my shot. I feel like my form and release have been the same, but I'm missing everything.
Well,
keep shooting.
That's the truth of it. Keep shooting. One of the things that happens to everybody who has a pretty good shot is that it will occasionally leave you. And there probably is some little nuance in there that you are not really seeing or feeling that is causing the shot to be off a little bit. It could be how you finish the shot. In fact, we have a kind of a staple that we always pass on to every player that we work with and coach, and that is this. When you struggle with your shot, you focus on the finish. And in simpler terms, what that means is that you focus on how you are releasing the basketball. If it's coming off of the first 2 fingers, it has a nice soft wrist. Are you getting all the way to the end of your arm on the release? Some people will have a release and they will pull back, and that affects your accuracy as well. So usually it has to do something with the way you're finishing your shot.
Yeah. And, the thing about it is that you need to kind of be able to evaluate your shot as well. So learn how to.
But you're not the only one in the world that has problems with that. You'll work it out, and that'll be good too, because you'll be able to go back to that sometime in the future when you might experience the same thing.
Yeah, so go check out our videos how to fix your shot too, because that
Yeah.
might give you some insight. But you
Sure.
just got to keep shooting, let it go too, because if you're focusing on the fact that you're missing every shot, you'll just sabotage the next one. So you need to just really work on, okay, this is a new shot, clean slate. Let's just shoot this
Yeah.
and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Gosh Josh, who says, I want to get better handles and stamina. My school wants to run a under 6-minute mile. Mine is not close. I'm slow, but I'm better at sprints than doing long distance. I can shoot pretty average. I can go get loose balls and rebounds because I hustle good, but get tired quickly. How do I get better stamina and speed? Well, the thing about it is having a 6-minute mile does not, to us personally, that doesn't really translate to basketball specific conditioning. What does is what you're doing is the sprinting and doing the interval training that are just short distances mixed in. You'll have a high intensity and a low intensity. So you sprint and then you walk, sprint, walk, sprint, walk. I think that you might be able to translate that into a good under 6-minute mile if you continue with the interval training and you just kind of make sure you're doing maybe 15 to 20 minutes of those where you're just keeping it going, because that's going to be better for you in the long run and probably help you with that 6-minute mile thing. I would not complain to your coach or your school or whatever about having to run this 6-minute mile. I would just give it your all. Play when you're out on the court. Play as hard as you can, and you can only do what you can do. And I think that if you're working on the interval training, you will start to see that will get better. You can't get down on yourself about that. But don't go to them and start complaining about, oh, well, this, the shot science guys say this doesn't translate well to basketball specific conditioning. That's not what you want to do either.
No.
This is just one little, requirement that they're trying to have in place because they think that is a good cutoff thing. I don't personally think it is, but that's their thing. So you have to kind of go with it. Okay. Let's see. This one is from DBZ Strike Ace 123, who says, hey, I'm quite a new addition to my team. I've only been here for under a year. I recently started missing practice due to personal problems, and my coach started losing his trust in me. I have solved all the problems and I'm now attending practices like I used to. I just want to know, what can I do to get my coach's trust back? P.S. Sorry for my English. I am from Europe. That was perfect English.
Yeah, it was. And you did the right thing. And all you need to do is to keep performing and doing everything that coach expects of you, and he will begin to gain more and more confidence in you as he once maybe had. So, everybody has ups and downs periods, and coaches have those as well, and they understand that. So as long as you keep functioning really well and as hard as you can go, he's probably going to take you back into the fold, no question.
Yeah, I think if you're open and honest with them and you tell them what
Yeah.
the problems are that you were having and that you need a little bit of time, I think that's good. Be that guy that we were talking about at the top of the show that's there 30 minutes early working on their game, is the first guy there, last guy to leave. That is being kind of the leadership reference for a lot of those guys. Be that person, and you'll quickly get the trust back that you think that you lost. Okay. Let's see. This one is from, let's go back to Twitter. This will help. This one is from Nate Thompson again, who says, can workouts sometimes be focused on one or two things? Sometimes I feel like I try to work on too much at once.
There's some truth to that. When you try to do too much in a particular workout period, let's say an hour and a half, and you're cutting it up into chunks of 10, 15, 20 minutes, oftentimes you can't get enough focus on what you're trying to do that you really show much progress. And so it's possible that maybe only doing 3 things during the course of a workout is good. When I'm working with a student, I usually want to vary what we're doing about every 15 minutes, and that mostly has to do with keeping their attention. And when you're working by yourself, you need to keep your attention there as well. So in a typical shooting practice, we'll warm up for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then we possibly have ball skills for 15 or 20 minutes. And then we'll take and work on some maybe layup drills. We'll work on some individual some individual drills possibly that are in accordance with your position. If you're a post player, we'll maybe work on the drop step for a little while, and then we'll take and leave that, and we'll go and work on shooting, and then finally we'll maybe round it out with a little bit of free throw shooting, something like that, just to keep interest going, and yet not let it get so huge in scope that you're spending just 5 minutes on this and 5 minutes on that, because you don't really get better doing that.
Yeah, I think it's fine to put an emphasis on certain things for sure.
Sure.
But you also don't want to do, the same drill for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because you'll get mental fatigue and you'll get physical fatigue. That's not the way to go. It's good to try to hit as much as possible every day.
Yep.
But obviously there's going to be days where you just need to buckle down and work on your shooting or whatever. Try to do that, but also try to be creative and mix things together so that you're doing, working on your attack and maybe working on your pull-up shot and stuff too. So, there's different ways to approach it. Okay. This one is from, excuse me, Praveen Yogendran, who's at Praveen DCBYOGI on Twitter. He says, what position should I be? I'm 5'11", 142 pounds, and I'm okay at shooting threes, and I'm good down low. And how can I work on my ball handling? Okay. What do we say about people asking about positions?
What is way more important in the game of basketball is what you can do that is all about basketball. How do you shoot? How do you handle the ball? How do you defend? And I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time worrying about what position you should play, because what's going to happen is that if you get into an organized basketball, your coach is going to tell you where he wants you to play. And that's going to be based principally on what you can do. He may take and put you, maybe as you guard the point on defense, because you're quick, you move your feet really well, and you can really pressure that guy. It could be that he wants you to take and play the shooting guard or a 2 or 3 guard, because you're able to stroke the ball. But all of that is because you are a basketball player first, and then you worry about position after that. I've had 1 or 2 players over the years who weren't very big, who turned out but pretty good players, and they ended up being really post players at not a very big height, but because they were basketball players first. And so that is probably way more important than worrying about whether I should be a point guard or a 2 guard or what.
Forget about position.
Yeah.
Forget about, my height makes me this or whatever. That doesn't matter at all. You could, look at Kevin Durant or look at Anthony Davis or whoever. Tony Parker can go on the post. I mean, it's one of those things where if you pigeonhole yourself, you might find yourself on a team where there's 5 point guards and you're number 6. But if you were skilled all around at everything, you could play the 2 because there's no other 2 guard. So you need to just work on your all-around basketball game. Be the best basketball player that you can be.
Right.
That's way more valuable to a coach and to a team than a guy that just he's got it in his mind that he's a point guard. That's all he's going to do. That's all he's ever going to be. That guy usually is the guy that finds himself not playing on a team because he has not worked on his overall skills. And I mean, you want to be the jack of all trades or the Swiss Army knife of basketball players. You don't want to be the guy that just can do one thing. So work on your overall game. Don't worry about positions. And then how to work on your ball handling? Practice.
That's one that amazes me, that people will often ask that question, and the answer to it is so easy. You just need to spend time on it. And they ask, well, what tips and guidance can you give me for working on my offhand? Well, exactly the same thing that you do with your off or for your solid hand or your dominant hand. Those things are just the same as they would be for the other hand. You just have to use it. And here's what you're going to find too, is if you get into ball handling with your non-dominant hand on a regular basis, you'll be surprised how quickly it comes around. It will show up pretty quickly.
Right. Okay. This one is from Goss Josh, who is at GOD12345IZE, who says, how can I get a better vertical? Can I just do squats and jump for the rim more? Check out our vertical jump video series and check out the vertical jump handbook. That's the best thing that we can say for that.
Right.
We don't even need to get into it. So check out those videos.
And it works.
Okay. Let's go back to the chat here. This one is from Kevin Nguyen, who says, tomorrow are my tryouts, and I know I will make it due to my coach always picking the guy up whenever we do drills and such. I don't think he's good. Wait, what does it say? Tomorrow are my tryouts, and I know who will make it due to my coach always picking the guy who whenever we do drills and such. I don't think he's good, but what do you think I should do to get better against this guy?
And don't worry about that guy.
Yeah.
What you really need to do is just work on what you can get done that is really solid. In other words, your ball skills, demonstrating your effort in every drill. And, one of the things that I think is just really key for people who are trying out is to always be in the forefront. Oftentimes players who are a little question themselves and their abilities will stay in the back, and the coach doesn't really ever see you very much. Be the first guy who goes to a drill. Be the first guy in line for any and everything that the coach gives you directions for. And so now that doesn't guarantee you a spot, but it shows that you have real interest in being a part of that team, and that goes a long way sometimes for coaches. Now, as far as this other guy, let him do whatever it is he's going to do. The coach obviously has his eye on him, but it probably isn't going to cut you out.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is have some little personal mental beef with some guy.
Yeah,
I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
If that, most every coach is going to have a few guys that they already worked with, or that they have their eye on or whatever already. That's their deal. Why are you worried about that? Because that's you have to worry about you.
Yeah.
Especially in a tryout. So, just go out there and play hard, play your game, and that's all you can do. Don't worry about that other guy. Who cares? If he sees you getting into a beef with that guy or feeling entitled, that's a great way to get just booted right there.
Yeah, right.
Okay. This one is from Nahilo Ibarra, who says, I'm going to be in high school soon, and I'm going to be a guard. What should I work on the most basketball wise? Okay. Don't worry about your position. Work on anything basketball wise that involves playing basketball. Everything. Don't worry about your position.
Ball skills, shooting, defense, work on all of it.
Mr. Cool Khan, who says, what's the best thing to eat for lots of stamina for basketball games, and what drills should I do to work on my shot? There is no secret formula to condition yourself for more stamina. You have to condition yourself in the, in your off time when you're working on that stuff. So, working on your physical stamina. You can't just eat bananas and think that that's going to fuel you and you're going to be able to play a full game and you haven't put in the effort outside.
Right.
So, obviously when it comes to eating things, it is very important to have a solid diet. So lean proteins and complex carbs like oats or whole wheat, whole grain. You got to eat right to have, for your engine to work right. But the actual stamina and conditioning stuff comes from physical effort and exercise.
Right.
Let's see. And you're asking about what drills and stuff you should work on. Check out our vertical jump handbook. That's a great one for that stuff.
Well, he's also asking about how to work on his shot. We have videos that cover all of that. If you go to the playlist, you're going to find a whole series of shooting videos that will help you with that shot.
All right, you got to help me out here. Okay, this is from Fernando Nunez, who says, this one guy on my school team kept dunking on the layup line, and the coach warned him about it a few times and eventually just told him if he doesn't do what he said, he'd take him off. Listen to your coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Great. You can show off and dunk. He asked you not to do it.
Actually, you're just kind of you're making the coach look really bad by you looking really bad, and he's not going to let you get away with it for very long.
Okay, this one is from let's see. This one's from Giddy Witty, who says, what post moves should I use on taller players if they don't give me baseline?
Well, there are a number of moves that you can use. You can take a jump hook to the middle. You can learn to spin and attack the basket on the opposite side.
The jump hook middle and the up and under are solid ones.
Yeah, they really are. And here's the thing too, is that if they're not, if they're fighting you on the baseline, that means they're not going to be able to control you going over the top. And that means stepping off into the paint and in the middle for that little jump hook or even a sky hook.
Right. Okay. This one is from Sam Dobson, who is at Sam Dobson195 on Twitter. He says, in Britain, basketball isn't big here. I have no basketball friends. My family have no interest in b-ball. How can I motivate myself?
Well,
find a group of guys.
Yeah, just keep looking. Those guys are there. They just haven't made themselves obvious to you yet. And it's funny. Your parents are probably my mother and dad. They were interested to see me doing things. It's been a long time ago, but interested to see me do things. But they didn't have any push one way or the other about what I did. Whatever I did, whatever I got interested in was what I got interested, not them.
Yeah.
So that's what you should do for yourself.
And we hear from people all the time that say, "Oh, I don't have a court to play on. I don't have a blah blah blah, or nobody wants to play with me," and all this stuff. You have to put the effort in. You have to be creative and figure it out. I mean, a lot of it is you have to be a self-starter. If you're going to worry about all of these things that aren't working out for you because they aren't just falling into place, I mean, that's tough. You have to find places to play.
Yeah.
For us, like when we were growing up here, there was a court that we could go play on, and it was usually a bunch of old dudes that would just beat the crap out of us. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't good basketball. We were all better skilled than them, and they just wanted to beat up on some kids. So, we had to go to a different court and play in different places, and looked up, this is back before the internet was super, dialed in, but we had to look up in the newspaper where open gyms were, and we would go play in those. And you have to find out ways and figure out ways to make things happen. If you just sit back and worry about, if I can't find anybody to play with me, go on. I mean, there's so many things you can do online now. I mean, go on Facebook, create a page, try to find guys that want to play, put out an ad on Craigslist or whatever the equivalent is in Britain. I don't know. And you just have to kind of be a self-starter. That's really the key. Okay, this one is from a lot of people asking about position stuff. You guys, don't worry about that stuff. That's just worry on building your game. Those position things are just labels that coaches have to put on you, and it's not a big deal. Worry about yourself and developing your game. This one is from Alexander Vidakovic, who says, how can I finish at the rim over the high or tall player, I would guess?
Well, if you can go to our videos, you're going to find a video there called 9 Finishes at the Rim. And those will help you really work against those bigger players. And you don't have to finish over them. What you need to do is really just create some space where you get the shot that you want. And you can do that. And so just check those videos out, or that particular video out, Finishes at the Rim, on our playlist.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that you're probably not going to finish over that guy just going straight at him.
Nope.
So what you need to really work on is being crafty and doing things like giving him a little up fake, get him in the air, get your body into him, and then go up for the shot. There's a ton of things you can do. But the thing about it is, a lot of times those taller guys have the mentality that they're just going to block the snot out of anybody that is shorter than them because they figure that they have the advantage. But use that against them so you can get them on up fakes super easy because they're just waiting for the opportunity. If you're able to give them a little fake, they're going to get up in the air, and then you're good to go. Okay, this one is from Mr. Toxicora, who says, hey, Coach, so my house is on a hill, so I can't get a basketball hoop to practice on, but I have one of those mini hoops with a mini ball. Do you think this will help me with my shot accuracy for when I play on big hoops? By the way, I have a room in my house that I can practice my ball handling in with a big ball, but not a big hoop. Thanks. Love the show. We just talked about this. I would say that mini hoops, not really the best way to develop your shooting at all.
No.
Maybe if you're a young kid and you're just, maybe 7 or 8 years old and you're trying to work on that stuff just because your body is smaller, that is fine. But if you're, kind of on the upswing of your growth and you're in middle school and stuff like that, that is not going to help you. And like we said, you got to be creative. You got to find a place to make it happen. Just because you can't do it at your house doesn't mean that stops you. Find a court, find some guys, and make it happen. Okay. Excuse me. This one's from One Color Dude. He says, I'm in grade 8 and tryouts are coming up soon. I want to know, will we have to run a lot? So I was wondering, what's the best way to condition myself food and exercise wise? Okay. It depends. Excuse me. Having allergy issues. But the thing is that every coach is different, and they might have you run a bunch and do a bunch of conditioning and skills stuff, or they might just have you guys play, or they might do a mix. You never really know. But like I said before, there is no specific food that you can eat that's going to make up for your lack of exercise and conditioning. So, like we said before, interval training is really the way to go when it comes down to basketball specific conditioning. Yeah. Let's see. Young Matt 009 says, how do I know how much is enough? Sometimes I feel like I'm doing too much. What would be a good balance of things to do in a tryout scrimmage?
The coaches are going to direct those tryout scrimmages and tell you what they want you to do. And so you want to take and follow their instructions. If there's a layup line, they're going to tell you to do it layup. If they're going to have a little 3-man weave, they'll tell you that, and then you go with what they want you to do. The main thing is, don't try to go too far out of what the coach is asking for to try and make yourself look like maybe a better player than you really are. Stay within the bounds and don't try to be too wild with what you're trying to show the coach.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to be really play within your skill level. Okay. This one is from Larissa Wright, who says, hello, I was wondering if being nervous before tryouts is a bad thing. So my tryouts start tomorrow, and it's the first time I played on a team other than an intramural league. So this is my first time really having to try out for a team, and I'm scared. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It probably is fine that you feel a little nervous about going to the tryout. You're probably a little apprehensive about what are they going to have you do, and can I do those kinds of things? But here's the thing that I think is probably most important for you to remember when you're going to tryouts is go there with the idea that you're going to have effort squirting out of every ear. You're just going to take and play really, really hard, good, bad, or indifferent. And then when they ask you to do different skills, do the best job you can. You may be surprised if you just, effort carries you a long ways when it comes to tryouts, believe me. And so I think that probably that would be the best thing, but don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not as awful as you might think it might be.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to get down on you and start, yelling at you and getting on your case. You just have to play and put effort in. That's really the key.
That's really the key.
Okay, this one is from, and what's the worst that could happen? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from, let's see. This was from DWit91, who says, what's up, Coach Tom and Casey? I would like tips for protecting the ball against reachy defenders, because rather I'm dribbling or passing quick, reachy defenders can be a nuisance.
Well, one of the things you have to do is you have to learn how to protect the basketball when you're dribbling it. Or when you're getting ready to pass it. Oftentimes we telegraph what it is that we're going to do when we make a pass. And by telegraphing, what I mean is that you look right directly at the person you're going to throw to, and it's very obvious what your intention is, and so they're able to stick a hand in there and maybe deflect the ball. So I think that
I think, the thing about it too is that if somebody's playing you like that, go by them immediately.
Yeah.
And also you can get them if they're breaching and overplaying, throw in like a back cut and set them up on a lead, and then go by them. Don't allow them to kind of stand in front. Don't just stand in front of them and let them reach and all that stuff. But you can also catch them with the hammer as you go by.
Yep. See our video on that one.
Yeah, go see our video on the hammer. And you can also just turn your body a little bit. If they're reaching across you, they're probably going to get called for that. I mean, you can't necessarily just start reaching all over the place on guys. And if they reach in, spin on them and go to the basket.
Also, when you're dribbling the basketball, you can pull it with your body, but also with an arm bar, which is the opposite arm that is held out to keep them from reaching in. That can be really effective too.
All right. This one's from Derek Mendanilla, who's at Derek Mendanilla on Twitter. and he took a screenshot of his picture or of his question he wanted answered from the chat and sent it to us on Twitter. That's a new one, and I appreciate it. He says, last year I was cut from the team, even though some of the kids who made it knew I should have made it over them. I didn't do my best at the tryouts, but that's in the past. This summer I went to several camps and practices for the team, and that was my chance to show what I can do. At the end, the coaches were talking to me and said that I should have made the team last year, and I really showed them that I deserved the spot last year. They said just to play as hard as I did this summer, and I should be fine. What do you think about this? Tryouts are next week.
Well, I would pay attention to what they're telling you.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to play your game, play at the ability level that you can, and don't try to do too much. Don't try to show other people up, and be, like we said, be the guy that we talked about at the very top of the show, the guy that's there early, that's putting in the effort, that's showing all the leadership skills, that's listening. I mean, how can they deny that guy? I mean, that guy is on top of all the stuff, and he has game. So that's really the way to approach that.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, this one is from Praveen again, who says, this is my first year trying out for varsity basketball. What should I expect at tryouts? Well, you can go check out our video that we did last week for our live show. We talked about kind of what to expect at tryouts. And you can also check out our videos that we have as well that we've filmed with ourselves. How to make the team is one where we talk about that kind of stuff. And then we also have some stuff where the Santa Cruz Warriors, the Golden State Warriors D-League team coach, Casey Hill, talks about some of those things that coaches expect in tryouts and that you might see in tryouts.
Yeah.
And it's also peppered in with some actual video footage from the Santa Cruz Warriors tryouts too. So check that out. Okay. Let's see. This one is from Gannon the Hero, who says, hey coach, there are some things that you teach in your videos that do not work for me. For example, in one video I stated that you should point your feet towards the basket, but when I shoot, my feet are turned and I line up my hip. I can make it every time. Can you debunk this? Well, we're not here to debunk anything.
We're not into debunking.
We never say to put your feet directly towards the basket.
Never.
Ever.
Never.
The thing is that when we teach shooting, we teach that there should be a slight shift towards your strong side or your shooting side, and that includes your feet. You can't turn your body without turning your feet.
Sure.
Of course, your feet have to be pointed to the basket, not necessarily directly to the basket, but your feet will be pointed at the basket in terms of just kind of lining, your body up to it.
Right.
So, what happens is you have that slight shift towards your shooting side because that's what you're shooting from. Is that shooting is essentially a one-handed shot.
Right.
So you don't want to shoot completely squared up because your arm isn't coming out of your chest. So you want to make sure that you're turned slightly towards the basket. And, your hip is going to be turned, your shoulder is going to be turned, everything is going to be shifted towards that shooting side.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
We don't need to debunk anything. I think we're probably on a very similar page. Okay. And the other thing is that we're not here to debunk anything. If you don't like what we teach and it doesn't make sense to you, hey, go off on something else. We don't care.
Yeah, we're not arguing with anybody about what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll listen to discussions about things and we'll evaluate it. And if it works for us, then that's the new way that we evolve or incorporate things. And the way that we've built all of our stuff is through years and years and years of just evaluating what makes sense, what is biomechanically sound, what is most efficient, all of that stuff. If you have a different opinion, that good luck with that. But there's always, more ways to skin a cat. So if it works for you, how can we say that it doesn't work for other people? Okay, whatever. We have to jump into the lightning round because we're running out of time. Okay, this one is from Antoine Finch, who says, how can I get my shot better and how to do a fadeaway? Okay, how to get your shot better is what? Practice.
Well, it is, and make sure that what you're practicing on is an effective way to do it. And we recommend, of course, going to our playlist on shooting to find out what we teach. We think it's pretty solid, and so that probably would be a good place to start. Then, as far as
hold on, and the 3 pillars of practice are the way to do it. So what you need to do is you need to have the 3 pillars. Number 1 is diligent kind of focused practice where you break everything down, slow it down, work on the mechanics of everything, and you just really dial in all of that stuff. Second pillar is game speed, game intensity practice, where you're doing things like pretending there's a defender there or actually get a defender there, coming off the dribble, coming off the pass, working on actual game intensity specific kind of drills that are working on the stuff that you dialed in the first pillar. Then the third pillar is actual game experience, where you take everything from the first and second pillar and put it into actual game where you're playing against people. It could be a pickup game, it could be a AAU game, it could be a college game, high school game. It doesn't matter. Any kind of playing experience, and just get as much experience doing those things as you can. That's how you make your shot better, is that approach. In terms of the fadeaway,
we're not a real proponent of the fadeaway because it's really kind of a difficult shot.
it's a low percentage shot.
Yeah, and if you want to do it, that's up to you. It's just that's our approach. We're not real strong on it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that would you rather take a shot that has a 50% chance of going in or one that has a 15% chance of going in? And there's no way that you can make a fadeaway as effective as an open look. So I would suggest working more on creating space, because if you can get more open looks, you will make more points. So be the guy that scores 30 points instead of the guy that scores 5, because he's focused on making fadeaways. Okay, and that's not to say that there isn't situations where that has to happen. I mean, occasionally it will. Okay, this is from Antonio Chris Culo, who says, "Hey, coach, our coach says that we have a high skilled team, but our fitness is not too strong. I was just wondering what defense is better against fitter teams, 3-2 zone or half court man-to-man?"
Well,
Depends on the team.
Yeah, it really depends on the team and the abilities of the individuals that you have on your team. For years and years and years, I've been essentially a man-to-man coach, and that includes being a man-to-man press coach. But there are certain situations and on playing different people, and maybe with the people that you have, where maybe a zone works better for everybody. So I wouldn't say that there is one that's better than the other. And I don't know that fitness has got that much to do with it either.
I mean, it really depends on the situation and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I would say try to slow the game down and try to work more on developing your guys' fitness. I mean, that's not a hard thing to do. Okay, this one's from Gummy Bear, who is at Sour Gummy Bear 6 on Twitter, who says, "I'm a good all-around player and I'm really athletic, but I can't score in a game. I can when I play pickup games, but not in games."
Well, this probably goes back to what Casey was just talking about a while ago, and that is those 3 pillars. If you can't effectively score in a game, it's probably because you haven't put yourself in that situation in practice. And game speed practice is probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself as a player, and not enough people do that. They're fine with going out and just kind of shooting around at practice speed, but then when fatigue, speed of the game, defenders, all of that stuff come into play, they're not ready to cope with that. And so you have to practice that to be ready for it when the time comes.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is why are you not able to score? Is it because that you're putting up the shots but they're not going in, or is it because you're not getting the opportunities or the looks? I mean, there's different scenarios. I mean, if you're not getting the opportunities or looks, maybe you're standing around too much. Maybe you're not setting yourself up. Maybe you're not moving without the ball. If you're putting the shots up and you're not making them, I think that's probably a situation where you don't have the game experience stuff like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of define what the problem is and address it. Okay. This one is from V Santos, who says, "Hey, Coach Tom and Casey, first off, thanks for all the drill videos. They helped me develop a better left hand. That's great. I'm trying to become a better defender, and I usually get called for fouls like reaching in. How do I read it, what an offensive player is going to do, and how do I know when to attempt to steal the ball?"
Well, one of the things that is kind of overdone, I think, is younger players looking to steal the ball. And they usually are caught reaching in, which gets them fouls. In reality, and this is something that we've talked about a number of times over the last few months, and that is you are more apt to get steals when you actually anticipate and step in front of somebody than you are in there digging and trying to get the ball out.
Or anticipating someone into a pass is really what it is.
Right. And the thing that is important for you is that when a player is attacking you or they've got the dribble out and you're reaching in, we tend to reach in over the top, which I think is a major mistake. we always teach our guys, if you are going to reach in, you always reach from the underneath side. You're less likely to be called for a foul when you make contact there. Do not know why, but that's kind of a typical situation.
Yeah, so check out our videos on Defense 101, and we kind of teach you about the tip hand and the rip hand and how to get some stuff going with that. The thing is, don't reach. I mean, that is the worst thing you can do. Just play straight up in front of that guy, beat him to the spot. That's a really good way to shut him down. Also, don't let him get the ball in the first place. And where you actually get steals, most people think you get steals from picking the guy's pocket while he's dribbling. That is not where you get the most steals. The more steals are caught off of just the pass, where you anticipate the pass and you step in front and you catch the ball. If you're trying to reach in all the time, you're going to be the guy that fouls out super early. So don't be that guy.
Yep, very true.
Okay, this one is from Christopher Kahlo, who says, how do you get less turnovers when you're passing to your teammates?
Well, one of the things that we do typically is we telegraph our passes that we're going to throw to people. We look right at them and then we throw the ball. And it's not like the defensive people can't understand what you're going to do. And so one of the things that we do is, and we teach this, especially when we're working against zone defenses, we always fake a pass to make a pass. In other words, we'll bring the ball up here and fake it like we're going to go into the post, and then we'll take it and throw it over to the wing. Or we fake a bounce pass and we go over the top. And so we're really big on the idea that to be an effective passer, you first want to fake the pass to make the pass that you want to make.
Right. Okay, this one is from AFall1K1. He says, I'm a sophomore in high school and I was given the option of whether or not I should stay on JV or move up to varsity. Which do you think is better developmental wise?
Well, that's really a hard thing.
It's subjective. It really depends on the person.
It does. And why would you be going up? Would you be going up so that you could be just cannon fodder for the older guys? In other words, you're just taking and filling out the team and maybe wouldn't play very much. Whereas if you played as a sophomore on the junior varsity, maybe you're a starter there and you get a lot of playing time, give yourself a chance to develop. You go up to the varsity and you compete at a varsity level. That has certain pluses as well, but you kind of have to evaluate that for yourself. Why is the coach leaving that up to me? Why isn't he telling me, I want you to come up or I want you to stay down? That's an interesting question. I'm not really sure how to answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about yourself in this situation. I think that's what they're asking you too is, is it better or more beneficial for you to do that or not?
And here's the thing: a sophomore that goes to a varsity team, if you are not going to play at least 10 minutes a game, then you should stay right where you are on the JVs.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be real bummed out if you're on the varsity. A lot of guys think it's like a badge of honor to make the varsity team early or something like that. But if you make the varsity team early and you just sit all the time, what is the benefit of that?
Truly.
You're not going to develop faster, and you're going to probably be the guy that winds up falling behind all the guys that are the same age as you because you didn't get the experience in.
Yep.
So you got to work on that and figure it out for yourself. Okay, let's do one more. Well, actually, I'm going to do this one real quick. This one's from Ivan Vukoja, who says, "Hey, coach, sorry for my English. I'm Croatian. I need to ask how to jump higher. Go watch our vertical jump videos. That's the best thing you can do. And we have the vertical jump handbook that will help you along with that." Let's see. This one is from Surge, who says, "Anyways, to improve my shooting for basketball team tryouts, I'm really nervous. People say I won't make it. I'm good with handles, but not layups and shooting average stamina."
If those tryouts are coming up pretty quick, there's not a whole lot you really can do. You want to go there and just compete and show effort and do everything that you can do without putting yourself in jeopardy. But it's probably with tryouts being imminent, there's not much you can really do to improve your skills. But here's the other thing: who cares what other people think? They're not the coaches. If the coaches, if they see that is the situation, that's one thing. If these other teammates or people that are saying that, who cares what they say?
Yeah, and go check out our videos. We show you how to work on all that stuff.
Yep.
So get to work on that ASAP. Okay, This is just a comment from somebody, and we want to say thank you. This is from the Derek Person 123, who says, "Thanks for the answer. Love your channel. You guys really help out. I'll make the team this year.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And we really hope you do. Keep us updated. Okay. So that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thanks so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. If you want to get in touch with us during the week, you can catch us on Twitter at Shot Science, on Facebook we're Shot Science, on Google Plus we're Shot Science, and on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. And if you have a question, you can hit us up on one of the videos that we've made that kind of applies to your question. If you put your question there, we'll try to get back to you. And we will be back next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, and we'll have another live show, and we hope to see you guys there. Please go out and tell your friends and family to watch. That really helps us get cool coaches and players and stuff like that over to answer all your questions. So make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See ya.